simple tools and transformations with great results. Today we are designing eye-catching shapes with nothing more than the basics. Hi everyone, I am Elias Arentopoulos, your instructor for this creative session. So to create the eye-catching vector shapes, from the toolbar, I grab the rectangle tool, and from the center out, I use the keyboard shortcut Alt-Shift-Option-Shift and draw out a perfect square. I'll release that. I grab the selection tool, and I'm also going to change the fill color to a color of my choice. Now on my end, I do have a stroke of 1 point. No need for that, so I'm going to bring this up and then just click to select none. All right. Now the next step is to have a different corner radius for the top left side and a different corner radius for the bottom right side. So with the selection tool, I'll click to select the shape, and with the control bar visible, which is this one right here. Now in the event that yours is not visible, under the window menu, just make sure that you have the control checked. We can change the corner radius using the shape properties. I'll click on that. And the first I'm going to do is disable the chain icon so I can set those values independently. So for the top left corner, I'll set the corner radius to 170 points. I press the tab key, and for the bottom right side, I'll set the corner radius also to 170 points. And now I'm left with a kind of a pill shape. Look inside the layers panel. I will lock this layer so I don't accidentally move it. And then inside my swatches, I'm just going to change the fill color to a color of my choice. From the toolbar, I grab the pen tool, and then right here where it says anchor, I click once to create the first anchor point, and then nice and slow, right there where I can see the alignment cues and path direction, which is coming from the smart guides, I click to create the second anchor point. I press the Shift key on the keyboard, move to the other side, right here to create the third anchor point. And in order to close this path, right here on the very top, where we can see the pen tool with the circle icon at the bottom, we click once to close this path. And now we are left with a triangle shape. Now, for this triangle, and only on these sides, I would like to have a curved path. And the way we're going to do this is by converting this anchor point and this anchor point from a corner point to a smooth point. In order to do that, we need to select those anchor points, and we're going to do that by using the direct selection tool. So I'll click on that, click once to select the anchor points, and then up in the control bar right here on this icon, I'm going to convert this to a smooth point. I'll do the same for the bottom left. I'll click on this anchor point, select it, and convert that to a smooth point as well. Still with the direct selection tool, I will click and drag and just press the Shift key and then snap this control handle to the side. I'll release that, click on this anchor point so we can see both handles, and then click and drag and then press the Shift key on the keyboard to snap this to the sides. The next step is to adjust this directional handle independently from this one. And the same with this directional handle as well. So for that, we need to use another tool. So inside the toolbar, I will click and hold to the pen tool till I get to the anchor point tool. And then right here, we'll click and drag this and adjust the direction handle independently from the other one. I press the Shift key till I reach the midpoint and release that. I'll do the same here. Click and drag, press the Shift key till I reach the midpoint, which is right here, and release that as well. Inside the Layers panel, I will unlock this rectangle shape and then Marquee Select. So in this case, I want to remove this corner shape. So I can do that using one of the Pathfinder options, which is this one right here inside this window. In the event that you don't have this window available to you, under the window menu, just check on the Pathfinder option. So one of the Pathfinder options is right here to divide, and that splits overlapping shapes into separate individual components, and that creates a group. So under the object menu, I'm going to ungroup that, and I'm going to click away. All I want to do is just click on this icon right here on the circle icon to target this shape, and then just click on the trash icon to remove it. And now we're left with these two shapes, and on the next step, we're going to add some gradient color. So for coloring those two shapes and add gradients inside the Layers panel, I'll click on the circle icon to target the first path. And from the toolbar, I grab the gradient tool and just click once to create, and by default, the linear gradient. That's the default type, which is very okay with me because I just want to have two color stops. I like the color for the first color stop, but for the second color stop, which I'm going to click to select, I'll use another color of my choice. That's just going to be this yellow color, which I can actually double click on that and make it a bit lighter. In addition, we have this midpoint control, which is the balance between those two colors. Now, by default, this midpoint control sits at 50%, meaning the gradient transitions evenly from one color to another. So I'm going to offset this a bit. And then I'm going to target the second path by clicking on this circle icon. Still with the gradient tool selected, I click once to create another gradient, a linear gradient with two color stops. So for the first color stop, I'll use this color of my choice. And for the second color stop, I use this color of my choice. I can also just double click on that and make it this just a little bit brighter or lighter. And then I can just click and drag this midpoint control and offset this just a tad. All right. So that is the color that I'm going with. I like what I see, so I'll go ahead and keep that. The next step involves adding a drop shadow just on this shape here. So inside the Layers panel, I'll click on the circle icon to target the shape. And under the Effect menu, Stylize, I'll bring up the drop shadow options. For the opacity, I'll bring this down between 35 and 40%. For the X offset, I will have a negative value of, let's say, 2 points. And for the Y offset, I'm also going to have between -2 or 4. I'm trying to have the drop shadow basically here and not on the outside. You can also adjust the blur radius. I'm very okay with all these values, so I'm going to click OK. Now, in the event that you want to go back to the effect and adjust it even further, click on the shape and then inside the Properties panel, and under the Appearance, right here is the drop shadow. So when you hover over, you can edit the effect. So click on that and make the necessary adjustments. So I like what I see, and I'll keep that. Now that everything is in order, it's time to duplicate shapes, flip them and rotate them for the final effect. So with the selection tool, I will marquee select the two shapes. Under the object menu, I'll group those. Inside the layers panel, I'll click and drag this group right on top of the plus icon to create a duplicate, just in case I need to go back to the original and make some changes. I will lock this layer, make it invisible, and just focus on this group. I'll use the keyboard shortcut, Alt Shift Option Shift to scale this down. I'll move to the sides, and right here I'm going to rotate this by pressing the Shift key and rotate this to 315 degrees. I'll release that. Once again, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, Alt Shift Option Shift to create a duplicate. I'll go ahead and flip this shape here to mirror the gradients and create a symmetrical design. So inside the toolbar, I'll click and hold to get to the reflect tool, double click on that and reflect this horizontally and then click OK. Okay, so we've got an issue here, and the issue is the drop shadow effect. You see, when I reflected the shape, the drop shadow effect did not reflect the object. Instead, it stayed aligned to the artboard's coordinate system, not the object's orientation. In other words, this drop shadow needs to be moved right here as we have on this shape. I'll click to select the group and look inside the layers panel. This is the path that I'm going to target. And inside the properties, the appearance, I'll click to edit the drop shadow effect. If you can recall, we had set the X offset to -2, so I'll set this one to 2, and the Y offset was set to -4 points, so I'll set this one to 4, and then click OK. I'll marquee select those two and center them. There we go. Things are looking great. So now we'll marquee select those two again, and under the edit menu, I'll copy these two. Back on the edit menu, I'll paste that in front. I've got my duplicates now, so I'll go ahead and start rotating by pressing the Shift key to 270 degrees and release that. We've got the same issue with the drop shadow being on the outside. So I'll click to target the group, click to target the path, click to edit the gradient to -2 and -4, and then click OK. And as for this one, I'll click on this path to target that. And for the drop shadow, I'll use 2 and 4 for the Y offset, and then click OK. And that is the final shape that I was going for.